how I felt going into it.
Oh, yeah.
Because the fact that he was like, no, like, what are you doing? I'm paying for your tacos. Like,
yeah.
You're absurd. to think that you would pay for your own tacos is ridiculous.
How dare you?
$12 tacos.
Hey, you're listening to Babes and Bad Decisions podcast. We're babes, we make bad decisions, and we're here to tell you about them. My name's Elaina.
I'm Charlotte.
And I'm Emily. All right.
I feel like we need applause.
I know.
Like,
yeah. This is like the first time we didn't dance while Elaina was doing the intro. Oh. And I was very proud. Well, this week we're talking about money and relationships, which, like, did your parents ever tell you growing up, like, there's certain topics you don't talk about with people? It's like religion, money, and politics. And now that's like all I talk about with
money
people.
Where I grew up.
I mean, I've heard that saying before, but my parents were never like, don't talk about money.
My parents told me to not talk about politics, especially with me coming from the north to the south. They were like, just
and then you met two
costs.
super
I met
liberal women in a group of other super liberal women.
And here we are.
And we made you more political than you were coming down.
My parents did say that, like, in your first meeting with someone, whether it's a date, an interview, whatever, you just don't bring up religion, politics.
Well, definitely not first meeting.
Oh, but
my
first date
never said money.
Oh, I will talk about that on a first date. If we're not on the same page, like,
I wouldn't.
We're not.
It's
working.
It's not a plan that I go into it where I'm like, well, I got to figure out what this man's political shit is.
But if he looks Republican, we're not going past a first date.
Kanye 2020?
I was mildly concerned that my current boyfriend was a Republican when I first started hooking up with him. I actually had a conversation. I didn't know.
He looks kind of preppy sometimes.
You're right. It was like preppy, and like he hung out with frat people, and I just didn't know because we didn't talk about it. So I literally had a conversation with Emily. I was like, I don't know what. It was a little bit into it, and I said, what if he is? What if he voted for Trump? What do I do?
I know, because what we had just found out from, like, her old hookup buddy, fuck buddy, whatever, was like, he said some super problematic things, and we were like, we've known you for, like, 5 years, and we had no idea. Anyway, we're not talking about any of that today.
Sorry, I was just like...
We're talking about the other thing, which is money. So money and relationships.
Cha-ching.
Cha-ching. All right. So Elaina wrote a lot of these questions too, but I added. So maybe she'll be surprised. Okay. So starting off, in the past, who's made more money in your relationships? And currently, Elaina.
My partner.
Yeah, my partner. 100%.
Currently, probably about the same.
Really?
I don't know the exact breakdown. He might make a little bit more, but not. I don't know. I make good money.
I would think he makes more income just because his is more steady.
He works more.
He works more, and it's more consistent flow.
It's not like time-based.
Yours is like
if it is more, it's not. It's not like,
much more.
A bunch more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No,
that's a great way to put it.
No,
Thank you.
my past partner made much more than I probably will
more
ever
than
make.
any of us will ever make.
More than all of us combined.
More than anyone that I know will ever make.
When we say if I went to jail, I would not call Emily or Elaina. I would call my
I'm
ex.
currently unemployed. So
there you go. So definitely not calling Emily.
I have savings. I would help you if you were in dire need, but I'd be like, did you call?
Frank would help me.
And
Frank
call my dad.
Frank would help you.
Frank would be like, get her out.
He literally.
Then I'll whip her ass.
He literally would. In my past relationships, like with my main ex, we pretty much either made the same amount of money, or like if I wasn't working, he was, or if he wasn't working, I was. So it was like pretty fair trade. But then my more recent ex, we actually talked the other day and had a conversation about this because we're still good friends, and like I call him my sugar daddy because he's like
Ew.
He's flying me down to Florida to like right before my birthday. He's like, what do you want for your birthday? I was like, you're already flying me down there and buying all of my food.
They still fuck.
This sounds like my ex.
No, that's correct. We still have sex, but his like love language is gift giving. So he makes more money than I do, and he made more money than I did when I was working. So he was like, he just likes to give gifts,
take things.
And now that we're not dating, I'm like, okay, gimme.
Sure.
And okay, do you like a partner who pays for you more? So like pays for the meals or dates or presents?
We were actually talking about this at work today.
Really?
Like 100%. Yeah. I was talking to a guy in the kitchen and one of the servers about this because her boyfriend's loaded. Guess who? She was saying that she likes it and she doesn't like it because like she feels guilty, but she appreciates it. But sometimes also feels like he has this sense of like that he has to do it because he makes more money.
Right.
And I think that's where you lose the value in the meaning of like paying for a dinner or something like that. Where like I talked about this before, but I got to a point where I didn't even notice that I expected it.
Yeah.
So now going into a new relationship, I think I'm more 50-50. Like everything is 50-50. If it's a nice gesture, like a surprise, go for it. Right. I'd love that. But 50-50.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Coming from a relationship where he did always pay, well, not always, but most of the time he would pay for dinner and such, I definitely got to a place where I expected it, and that was bad. And now in my current relationship, it's a lot more 50-50. So either we'll split bills or we'll kind of go back and forth on who's going to pay for it. Or even a lot of times he'll get the bill, but I'm like, well, okay, well, I'll do the tip because I want to contribute something.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot better about it in that way because I feel less bad. I feel less in debt to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I guess.
Yeah, it makes the dynamic of the relationship feel more equal as opposed to one person kind of course, it's nice to have someone to pay for all of your things, but at the end of the day, it kind of, you just feel indebted to them, and I don't like that feeling at all.
What
Emily?
about you?
I don't mind it. I wouldn't say like, oh, I love having someone that pays for me all the time because like, as I've mentioned in past episodes, like I don't know how to accept that from somebody. But like my main ex kind of set the precedent because it was so 50-50. Like when I was doing better or when I was working and he wasn't, like I was happy to pick up the tabs. And then when he was doing better, he was happy too. And then, you know, when we were pretty even, it'd be like, oh, if we go to the movies, oh, I'll get the tickets. Can you get the snacks? You know, stuff like that. And that kind of, we were together for like 5 years. So going into my next relationship, like I also expected 50-50. And then had kind of a weird time like learning how to deal with someone who liked paying more.
Right.
Because I was like, sure,
yeah.
Okay. But it never, like, we weren't together super long, so it never really got to a point where I expected him to pay for things for me. We were also, like, long distance for a bit, so it was, like, didn't even really matter.
Yeah.
But would you rather be the breadwinner in your relationship, or would you rather it be even, or would you rather your partner be the breadwinner?
I'd rather it be even. The person who makes more money.
Yeah.
Oh.
Have you never heard that term before?
No.
Oh, really?
No.
It
like
usually
super
is
common down here, at least.
It's like usually used for like married couples or partners, like spouses.
Like the person who brings home the bacon.
Yeah.
Okay, I have two answers to this. Okay. So for my future, I would love to have him make more money because if I ever had a kid, I would want to be able to spend that time with them.
Yeah.
And I don't think if I was making the amount I would like to, I would have that time. So I would love that for the future, but like just while I'm young right now, 50-50, 100%. Also, I don't want to know what you make. I really, like, that's not something I've ever asked. Like, he never told me. It would be like, he'd pay for a lot of things, and I'd be like, are you, like, can you handle this? And that's when he would kind of fill me in.
Right.
But it's never, I really don't want to know how much you make because when you know that, it changes everything. Because it's like if they don't pay for something, you're kind of like, well, I make this and he makes this, so what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I just really try not to answer that. Like if it's 50-50, that's great. If it's I make more, he makes more, whatever at the end of the day. But for my future, I would hope that one of us makes a really good amount just to support whatever happens.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
I don't really think about me with kids very often, but that's...
Neither do I. But that's one...
I can agree with that.
Even if it's my fucking dog.
Right.
But I just brought him home. Like... I have to stay with the baby. I know I want to make a certain amount in my life. Like, I know how much is acceptable for me at this time in my life, in the next point in my life. Like, I have goals for my own money things. Right. So I would love a partner that makes about the same amount as me. And if they made more than me, that's fine. And if I was making really good money and they made a little less or whatever, that's fine too. But I definitely want to have kids. And if I have like a normal salary job, whatever, then when I stay home and like have maternity leave or whatever, like I'm still going to be getting paid that money.
Right.
So I don't have to, like, hopefully I wouldn't have to rely on my partner's
income,
financial thing. Yeah, but my mom, like, she was always taught this. She has 2 sisters, and her parents always taught her this, like, never rely on a man for money. Like, you want to be financially independent. Like, if anything happens, like, you want to be able to exactly.
Yeah.
You want to be able to, like, take care of yourself, take care of your family. Like, my mom put herself through grad school. Like, she bought herself a house, like, before she married my dad. Like, so I've seen a lot of financial freedom in my parents. You know, they have separate money and they have together money. And I think, like, that's kind of set the precedent for, like, how I view myself in my life.
Right.
And then just, like, financial independence. Leaving college was a huge thing for me. So, like, that financial independence for myself, no matter like what life situation I'm in, is like always at the same place.
Well, yeah, like jumping off leaving college, like I don't know about you, Elaina, but like I'm going to my senior year now, and I just know that when I go back to New York, it's a lot different than things that I pay here and what I make here.
Yeah.
And like it's like I need to. No, it's expensive. Yes,
it
yes,
is.
it is.
Yes, it is.
Which is why that like I think I'm starting a little bit sooner than other people that like either are going to stay in Florida or stay in the South about their financials when they graduate, just because like I know I'm going to have to pay like $1,200 a month for like a shitty closet in New York, while like people pay like maybe $900 here for like a decent one. So.
Well, I mean, even moving to Orlando from here, Orlando is a lot more expensive than Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And I know it's nowhere near as expensive as New York, but still, I mean, I've started looking into, you know, places to live and stuff, and for a even decent 1-bedroom, the rent's gonna be almost definitely $1,100 or more, and that's depending on what part of towns you're looking at. Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely something I've had to start looking at and planning for, you know?
Wake up now, kids.
Yeah. Luckily, Nashville.
Don't sell your short. Wow. Holy shit. Don't sell yourself short later. There, we got there. Took us a few sips, but
it always does. Yeah, luckily Nashville is... Oh, I live in, like, a really great part of town, and it's super affordable. But it's definitely more expensive, and, like, there's fucking 9.25% sales tax.
Jesus Christ.
Which is so annoying. But we don't have state tax.
So much.
We don't have
Welcome
state tax,
to
which
New
is
York.
okay. That's nice.
But yeah, we're getting a little off topic. So back to relationships.
Sorry.
No, but it's good. It's
mostly
like
me.
a money conversation. Is someone who makes a lot of money important to you? Is it important that your partner makes a lot of money, like separate from you?
For me, yes, it is very important, because me personally, if I feel that they're not making enough for whatever reason, I put that their pressure on me to make what we're missing.
Yeah.
Whether it's said or not. But like, say he lost his job for whatever reason, I realize that like I'm probably going to be paying for a lot more stuff that I maybe wasn't used to. So yeah, it throws you off for a loop. So I would love that doesn't happen.
Off for a loop.
Throws you for a loop.
She mixed like 2 idioms.
So yeah, no, but that would throw me for a loop. So I'd love if that didn't happen, but also it's something you guys should talk about if it does.
Oh,
Yeah. I think in general, not even thinking about situations like that, that can always happen. I don't think it's a priority for me, but I want someone, in my perfect world, I want someone to be making at least the same as me, if not more. I don't like the idea of being the provider in the relationship. I don't like that. I don't know, that makes me feel weird.
Too much pressure.
Right. So I don't need someone to be making a shit ton of money. I just need you/us to be making enough to be comfortable and be able to afford the things that we want. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a crazy amount of money, but also I think it's really important to think about, okay, they might make a lot of money, but are they smart with their money?
Yeah.
Because my ex made a decent amount of money. I mean, he didn't make nearly as much as your ex, but he made a decent amount of money, but he was not necessarily very smart with his money.
No. God, no.
And my boyfriend now is much smarter with his money. So it's like, okay, you might not make as much, but in the long run, you're probably better off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I'd rather have someone smart with their money that doesn't make as much than someone who makes a bunch but just doesn't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, going back kind of when Shar talked about, like, once you find out how much money somebody makes, it changes your perspective. Because, like, my more recent ex and I, when we were together, were having that conversation about money. Because he was picking up a lot of tabs. And I was like, are you okay? Like, can you do this?
Right.
And he was like, oh, yeah, like, he's like, I make really good money.
Right.
I was like, okay, good. And he, like, told me how much he made, kind of, like, unprovoked. And I was like,
oh.
I mean... It wasn't like an insane amount of money, but it was like good for like a single person, especially living in Tallahassee, where you don't need to spend that much money in Tallahassee.
Right.
So then it worked more because he liked spending the money, and it made me feel better about like letting him pick up things.
Right. Knowing that he was fine.
Knowing that that he was fine, and he's been pretty smart with his money, and so then I didn't feel like I had to worry.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I think someone being smart with their money versus having a lot of money is more important.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when I've started to make more money, I can sometimes get a little reckless because I'm like, oh, I have all this extra money. When in reality, I have to, like, bring myself back and be like, okay, well, you know, you should put this into savings and, like, towards all these things.
Right.
So, it's not necessarily important to me. But
also, when it comes to your partner and them making money, what I learned, because my ex was a special situation because he had a good amount of money coming in every day. It's like something I learned coming out of my relationship that I look like specifically for in a new relationship. If you make a lot of money, you're going to start dating that as well. Yeah. Like, so you're going to date someone that's invested in their work and have to, like, if you're okay with that, go for it. Like, but there usually when people make a lot of money, there's always side effects from it.
And I think that's especially relevant in our age group because once you're older, it's more likely that the person could be making more money. But at our age group, especially if someone's making a shit ton of money already, it usually is because they've either gotten really lucky in the field they're in or that's all they've done. You know what I mean?
Like, I look back at my ex and, like, he works really hard for his money, but I also look back and say that he was dating me as well as his job. Right. Like, sometimes the
you
job
were the side
first.
Chick and his job was the main
chick.
I
was literally the side hoe.
Like, literally.
And his job was the main hoe.
Yeah. And I think at this point in our lives, like, when we're in our early 20s, like, coming out of college, especially like where I'm at and the people that I'm dating and whatever, you know, you kind of have to make a choice. Like, how committed am I going to be to the beginning of my career? And is it going to become my whole life? Or is it, I'm going to let it, you know, flow more naturally versus becoming a total workaholic?
Right.
And I've seen that in my age group with like people I've, you know, dated in the past. And then, like looking at someone like my dad who makes a really good amount of money, but he works so hard and all the time. Right. And even like growing up, he was and still is a total workaholic. And my mom, who was in education and made like decent money, but had a more set schedule, seeing their relationship play out and that dynamic kind of made me look at my future about, you know, whether I would want to date a total workaholic. Cause like, I don't think I'm a workaholic at all.
No.
Yeah. Like I work hard for the things that I want, but not like my dad or like your ex.
I remember when I was in New York last summer, and I told you guys this, that whenever I would see my ex, yes, we were like friends and benefits and stuff like that. But he got so invested into his work that when we would take the train, he was going to work and I was going home, there was a whole hour that I could not talk to him because he was working. Yeah. Like, he had to set up everything before he went to work. And, like, I had to readjust and be like, this is his priority. Yeah. Like, we're not in a relationship, so, like, it's different. But seeing that side of him that wasn't there when we were in a relationship just showed me how much work became his priority.
Yeah.
And I think he realized that too after our relationship, that he was invested more in work and he wanted to continue that. And like, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. Like, you're young. Use the energy now, use the time you have now to like set it all up for the future. So I respect that. But it was a big adjustment.
Oh yeah. I don't want this to come off as us like shaming workaholics or whatever, or people that decide that like furthering their career at this point in their lives is more important than, you know, dating or whatever, having serious relationships. Like, good for you. If that's what you want, like, go for it. I think I've just realized, and like, I don't want to speak for you two, but maybe you all have also realized that that's not necessarily like what we want for our like relationships.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Like you said, not a bad thing. This is the time in your life to be selfish and choose what you want to spend your time doing and make your priority. But if you're going into a relationship with someone, especially at this point in your life, you need to know what you want and what your priority is, and make sure that your priorities at least mostly line up. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's in a way that you can make it work together.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I've stated before, I do not have any rich exes. So this question is for you two, because I don't really have an answer to it. Have you ever felt like your partner was holding the fact that they made more money over your head?
I think there was a time where he did, but it was after the relationship, actually. So in the relationship, we both realized that he made more than me.
Right.
Yes.
So that was a known fact that went around. So obviously his gifts went around the two of us. But his gifts were always just a bit more elegant or expensive or anything along those lines. And it was a known fact that I couldn't do stuff like that. And we were both,
you were in college.
Yeah, I was in college.
Like, so literally a freshman in college.
100%, which is why I don't think it was ever a problem.
Yeah.
But it started to become a problem at the end of the relationship into taking a break, because we would get into fights, and now that we didn't have a relationship, he could say, I can't believe you would say that, considering like everything I've bought for you, or like everything I've done for you. Yeah, like
those are gifts that you chose to give me. Like, I didn't ask you to buy that for me. I didn't ask you to like spend all this money on me. Like, you fucking did that.
Yep.
No, 100%.
Hate that.
I mean, I also had no right bringing in that to an argument, because that has nothing to do with the argument. But there were times I look
shame
back,
on you
like,
too.
yes, shame on me. I took it for granted, and I think that's when it became a problem.
Yeah.
When you start expecting and taking for granted what they're giving you.
Right. I can kind of relate. Mine was less about gifts and more about being able to see each other, because there were on and off points in our relationship where, with my ex, where we were long distance. And so he would, you know, take time off and spend a lot of money to fly out to see me or fly me out to see him, et cetera, et cetera. And it did at some points, he was a little bit like, well, like, you never do you know what I mean? Like, he felt like he was doing more in order to make the relationship work, which from my point of view was completely wrong.
Yeah.
But that's how he felt, because he was able to spend the money to allow us to see each other more often.
Yeah.
Which was frustrating, because I was sitting there saying, well, if I had the money, I would. You know what I mean?
Like, his
it's like, you really don't think that if I was making enough money to spend, you know, thousands of dollars to buy a plane ticket, that I wouldn't do that? You know, like, of course I would.
Yeah.
But it definitely did become a little bit of an argument. And I think it's also important to say that I think both of the things we were talking about were also stemming from other issues.
Oh, yes.
You know, they were things that came up in arguments about probably other things.
Yeah, and it would lead to what I've spent.
Right. But it was
do.
brought up, especially like you were saying, towards the end of the relationship, which of course was like the rocky point.
Yeah, it's always going to be brought up, because obviously you remember the price tag attached to everything you buy, no matter you're in a relationship or not.
Right.
So you're always going to use that as leverage in any argument, whether you're wrong or right. Like, I don't think anyone would not do that.
I mean,
I think those were just immature arguments. I think is the issue.
The what?
I can look back on my arguments with my ex and say almost all of them were handled very immaturely from both sides. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, those were not productive arguments.
Just to clarify, bringing up spending more money on someone than someone else when you know you're in a better financial place than they are is a really shitty thing to do in an argument, and you should not do that with your partner.
No, it's manipulative. Both of our exes were manipulative.
Don't do that shit.
Oh yeah,
we talked about it. Yeah, just don't do that.
How do you decide who pays for what?
Ooh.
Throw him the check. No, I'm kidding.
I gotta go to the bathroom, and then you just don't come back for like 20 minutes, and you're like, did the check come?
I recently noticed that I'm not even in a relationship. Like, I'm just so bad at reading the table when it comes to the check. Like, so bad. Like, we went to breakfast with your mom, and I went to the bathroom, and the check was already paid. And it also happened when I went to dinner with my friend and her dad. Mm-hmm. And I went to the bathroom, and the check was already paid. And I'm like, damn, I just, bladder, stick with me.
Likely
Fuck it. We'll wait till we get home.
Timing.
We're paying the goddamn check. I just have terrible timing. But to answer your question, looking back at my relationship, we would either do 50-50. I get what I want, he gets what he wants. If it was like, I'm going to take you out to dinner, or like an anniversary, or any nice restaurant that we both were interested in going to, he would usually get the check. I would fight him every time.
Yeah.
But it got so bad to the point that I would fight him, and when I'm in the bathroom or just when I was on my phone or whatever, he would find the waitress and give her his card and just be like, just when it's ready, just swipe it.
Right.
So I wouldn't even fucking know.
Yeah.
She would literally be like, all right, you can sign. And I'd be like, when the fuck did this happen?
And I think
I was like, Stacy, I thought you were on my side, homie.
But I think that's fine, because like if people like really, because like maybe some men who are, you know, they were raised that way, and that's the way they show they're really interested in you is, you know, I was taught I'm going to pay for the check if I take you out on a nice date. Like maybe that's them showing that they really care about you, they care about the date, whatever. And like, I think past a certain point, like fighting over the check is just a little much to be like, if they're like I'd say go back and forth like maybe 2 times. And if they're like, no, really, I got it, then be like, okay, I got the next one.
Yes.
Unless you're not going to see them again, then be like, well, thank you. But yeah, that seems a little excessive.
Yeah. I think
Stacy.
Right now I think I have a pretty good rhythm going in my current relationship. And again, it helps because we make close to the same amount of money. He has more expenses and I have less expenses, so I think it kind of evens out because he makes a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
So I think doesn't have to be an overarching rule, but I think it's good when you make plans to eat out or do something out. It's kind of good to at least lightly discuss before you even do it in making that plan. Okay, like, you know, either like you were saying, someone could be like, oh, I want to take you out on this date and I want to do this thing for you. Then it's like, okay, well, you clearly are expecting to, you know, pay for that bill.
Yeah.
Or it can be like, oh, well, let's go get this. And we can be like, well, you know, I can't really afford that right now. Would you be able to pay for it on your own? And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then maybe we should look into other options. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's really smart because I didn't ever do that in my last relationship. And I think it was kind of hard because we got into this rut of constantly going out, eating out, doing things, all these stuff. And then we get to the end and he would not always be able to pay at that time, and it's like, well, fuck, like I can't pay either, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just gets into a sticky spot. So I think it's good to talk about it before, and then I think going back and forth is nice. I don't know, that's kind of what we do now. And again, if someone's really persistent about wanting to pay for it, then let them pay for it. And like you were saying, I'll get the next one. Or like I said, what I like to do is if he's really persistent about paying for it, I'll be like, okay, well, I'll put the tip on. Especially if it's a bigger bill, because then, you know, like the tip's kind of substantial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well, okay, it's a, you know, a $40 or a $50 bill. Okay, well, I'll get the tip. So that's, you know, another extra $10 to $15, whatever it may be, that I can add and help out. You know,
service people.
I listen to Elaina talk right now, and I think how fucking spoiled I was in my last relationship, and how this topic right now, like I can sit here and say all the shit I want, but in my next relationship is going to be a bridge for me to cross because I'm just so not used to asking these questions, having these talks, because I don't know if it was the way he was raised or how much he was making, and he knew that I was in college. It just never
he's
never
also
came up.
super money centric. Like his life revolves around his job and how much money he's making.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he was like thinking about this so much more than you were as like an 18-year-old college freshman.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. And I think he said at one time that he enjoyed, like, the way he, I guess his love language, but this isn't even like giving gifts. Right. Like that was what he enjoyed.
Spending money on you and just you not having to worry about it.
Seeing me like enjoy the time we're having and like not having to worry about the money and like yeah, it's totally fine. But I think it also, because I was so young at the time and not being that deep into college and realizing my financials, it hurt me in a way because I took advantage of it and I expected it, and now I have to probably go into my new relationship not really
to like relearn
expecting that to happen. Yeah, I have to relearn how to basically have these talks because
and kind of coming from a similar situation, I think it helps a lot when the person you're with is in a similar life situation and a similar financial situation, because like thinking back, like my ex, he didn't go to college, so he didn't have any student loans to worry about paying for. He was much older, so he was in a very different stage of his life, and so he had different financial things that he was thinking about and worrying about. And in my current relationship, he's 3 years older than me, but it's a little bit more similar.
He's recently out of college.
Right, he's recently out of college. He has he has student loans to be worrying about. He has similar financial concerns.
And you guys met while he was still in college. So it was like...
Right. So we're kind of going through the same...
Jumping off
financial,
the same base.
Right. Yeah. When you... Especially because also, when you're 18, or when I was 18, or whatever...
17.
We're kind of... 17, 18, 19, whatever. You're kind of still in that rhythm of like, oh, well, my parents will pay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the guy will pay.
We were children. We were young.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But now... Even like when you think about going out and doing things, you think, oh, do I have enough money to do this? You know what I mean?
100%. Every time.
So getting into your next relationship, as long as the person's not making, shit ton more than you are, like he was, when you say, oh, let's go to the Empire State Building and go to the top floor, you're going to be like, well, fuck, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Maybe let's not do that.
Right. But maybe let's not do that, or let's talk about it before, or let's save up for that or something. So I think it's also kind of getting into that independent thought process yourself and being at a point in your life where you even think about those things. Because if you go straight from having your parents to pay for everything to going to a man paying for everything, like, of course you're not going to fucking think about it, you know?
And I remember, Elaina, your ex told us like how much money he was getting a month or whatever from his boss, like when he was in Tallahassee. And during that period in my life, I was a junior in college, and I was like, that's so much money. Like, like he's rich. And now I look at how much I was making a month with my old job, and I was like, that's not that much more than what I was making. And I was not rich by any means. I still had, but like your whole mindset changes, dating in the same place in your life as other people, the same stage. And like back to the question at hand, which was who decides, like, how do you decide who pays for what? The first date I went on with my main ex, I like didn't know if it was a date or not, or if we were just hanging out, and we were ordering, and like I got to because it was like you walk down and you pick what you want, and so I got to the cashier, and then he said, oh, I got her. And so then I was like, okay, I guess this is the date. He's paying for me.
Right.
I was like 16 at the time, but continuing on, I mean, we were together for so long that we just like had to have that conversation, and we were very open about, well, I'm working right now, or I'm not working right now. If you can't do this, we shouldn't do it because I can't financially. Right. And then setting the precedent, I guess, for who pays for what. I mean, we got into the rhythm of, if we're going to the movies, I'll pay for tickets, you pay for snacks. Or if we're going to go do a bunch of stuff during the day, you pay for the activity and I'll get food after. Right. It was just kind of that, because we were very much making about the same equally.
Right.
I mean, throughout our whole relationship, if you even it out.
Right.
And then I know you want to talk about first dates, sure. But my thing is, now that I have like left college and I'm going on more dates with more people.
Yeah.
If you're and I'm dating people that aren't men. So it's there's no like, oh, well, he's the man, he'll pay for me. Like, no, we're both women, who's going to pay?
Right.
So I think it's whoever asks. Like, if I asked Elaina on a date, I would expect to pay. But if Elaina asked me on a date, I would expect her to pay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I go into it. And I feel like at this point, you know, I'm not afraid to be like, to talk about money, even on the first date.
Right.
Or I won't usually reach for the bill because usually I'm not the one asking people on dates. I get asked on dates.
Yeah.
But
toot motherfucker.
Exactly. But if they don't reach for it either, I'll, you know, there's that hesitation. I'll be like, oh, do you want to split it?
Right.
And then either they'll say, no, I got it, or they'll say, sure.
Right.
Because then I don't have to pay for all of it.
Right.
But I can see if they want to or if they want to split it.
I think that's a good rule. I think if you ask someone on a date, it should be, you should probably expect to pay.
Yeah.
Especially because you might also be the one kind of choosing like where you go, what you do, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You might have a little more control over that.
Yeah.
So you can kind
Choose
of
your
tailor it
price
to your
range
to your financial abilities. I think if it's a little bit, and this also kind of ties into gender norms, because I do, like you said, think that with men and women,
especially in the South.
Right. If a man and a woman are going on a date, it's usually pretty expected for the man to pay, which I don't necessarily think is 100% fair, but like, go for it. But I think with more casual dates, I think it can be kind of weird. Thinking back to my current relationship, the first date, quote unquote, that we went to get food.
At Tijuana.
We were talking on Tinder. It was super casual. It was like, hey, want to go get food? Like, sure.
Or was it Moe's?
No, it was Tijuana Flats.
Okay.
I went with 100% the expectation to pay for my own meal and was kind of just going into it with the like, well, I'll expect to pay, but if he really insists, I won't put up a fight. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And he did pay for, like, I went up to go pay for my tacos and he was like, no, I got you, like, whatever. So I think if it's a more casual thing or it's like a, hey, we should go get food kind of thing, then maybe go into it expecting to pay and just kind of see what happens. But I liked the rules that you were kind of saying. I think those are pretty fair. Or like you were saying, just fucking ask. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And
don't be too scared to talk about money in terms of that. You know?
Like my more recent ex was like, I want to take you to dinner. So I was like, all right, you're paying because you want to take me to dinner.
Right.
All right,
Which is fair.
Your turn to shine.
She's ready.
She's been waiting.
First dates are a little heated topic for me.
All right, everyone, take a sip of your wine
been
or whatever
on
you're drinking.
a lot of doozies.
Okay. No, but the way I grew up was that if it was a first date or if it was like a very nice date, the man pays.
Yeah.
He's the gentleman.
Right.
He is affording, like, he obviously had some input into where you guys went. And I think that is obviously what I hope to happen in a first date, that the man pays and he's a gentleman and he treats me to dinner. I went on a first date with this guy that I was talking to on Tinder. And he was like, you pick the place. So I'm like, obviously we're in college. I'm not going to pick like a fucking bougie place.
Right.
I picked fucking Blaze Pizza.
Yes.
I got
the chillest place ever.
I got a $9 pizza. $9.
With that gluten-free crust.
Gluten-free crust. $9. And he like motioned for me to pay.
Did you order before him?
I did order before him, but that's usually like, I've been in situations like this, and that's usually when I'll go up and she'll say, oh, are you guys together? Or are you separate? And so that's when you look at
that
him,
person.
And
yep. And you go,
and you look at him and they'll be like, oh no, I got her or something like that.
Yeah.
And he just goes like hand gestures and pay. Like he's like, you pay. And from that moment, I was like,
you were done.
You asked me to go get food with you.
Yeah.
I literally was very hesitant. Also, if I know that this is our first date and he's paying for me, I'm not going to buy the fucking steak or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, I kept it so
You're gonna
simple.
be frugal.
But if I knew
Like
I was
a
paying,
medium
I would have loaded that motherfucker up with, like, fucking spinach, fucking meatballs.
All the toppings are
Give me
free,
all the shit.
You should have told them, like, it would have been really funny if he was like, no, go ahead. And you were like, okay, I'm gonna go back. Can I actually get a drink and a dessert? And can I add these toppings?
I'll take every topping. Like, I'll take every topping.
Actually, I'll get a second pie and just take it home.
I don't know if it's me and the way I was raised and how I would hope that the man pays on the first date. Mm-hmm. And honestly, he was the only one that has not paid on the first date. Yeah. And I was sitting there and, like, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But I was sitting there after we got our pizza and I was like, he couldn't pay $9 to buy pizza. And every conversation he was saying, it was clear that money was not a problem from what we were talking about. Yeah. And because he didn't pay, I was thinking about that.
Yeah. And at that point, it's not about the $9. It's about the gesture.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. I don't know, man. I think maybe I'm fucking spoiled, but
it's tough because it is a more traditional sense. And I can't lie. When I go into dates, I do kind of like, if I had gone out with my current boyfriend to Tijuana Flats, granted, it was chill. I was going into it being like, well, I'll pay for my tacos.
You don't even know if he was a Republican at that point. So, like, you guys weren't even friends. You were just like having sex.
We had been texting over Snapchat for like a week. We went to Tijuana Flats and I was prepared to be able to pay for my meal. Mm-hmm. But if he had not paid for my meal, I do think it would have affected how I felt going into it.
Oh, yeah.
Because the fact that he was like, no. Like, what are you doing? I'm paying for your tacos. Like, you're absurd. to think that you would pay for your own tacos is ridiculous.
How dare you? $12 tacos.
Like, so the fact that he did that definitely gave him brownie points in my eyes. And so if you don't care what the other person thinks of you, then,
and
like,
you know
sure.
how much Elaina loves brownies if you listen to the last episode.
Fucking love brownies.
Well, I think Charlotte specifically, one of her love languages is gift giving. So one of her desires in a partner, from what I've noticed, and Char, you can argue with me if you want, but it's just true, is the desire to be taken care of by someone else financially. Not that she doesn't have financial goals of her own, because she is double majoring. She's going to be a 100%. Bad bitch. She's going to make a lot of money for herself as well. But what I've seen her desire in other partners is that
the gesture
that they also have that financial stability and that they want to take care of her.
Right.
And that's not just financially, but like, if they take care of her financially, that means they will hopefully also take care of her emotionally, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so obviously then she, like, not paying shows a lot about, you know, what they're going to do in the rest of the relationship. Right. And that's a first, like, kind of mini red flag for her. Mm-hmm. And then, but in general, like, not everyone has that viewpoint. So some people going on a first date, they may be like, if someone wants to split it, then they're totally fine with that, which is totally fine. It's just dependent on person to person.
Yeah.
And my whole view is if I am asking you on a date, it means I really want to take you out and I'm happy to pay. Right. And I would hope the same in reverse. If someone's asking me out on a date, they really want to take me out. They want to get to know me. They want to pay for me, take care of me, all of that. Right. And so I think it just depends on the person. Because if you're listening and you're like, oh my God, I would not care if someone made me pay for myself.
Right.
Then great. That's just, it's just all personal preference. But with the Blaze thing, remember Bumble Guy, who I was hooking up with up here. We went and got food, and it was one of those, you go through and you pick what you want on your bowl or whatever.
Yeah.
And we were together, and we walked up together, and the guy was like, oh, what do you want? And I made him go first.
Yeah.
Because when he gets to the cashier, then he can say something like, oh, I have her too. Or he cannot say anything, and then I pay for myself. And I know I don't have to ask.
Yeah.
But he got 2 bowls for himself. Which I knew going into it that he was going to do that. But the person making the bowls didn't. So he just kept going with him, and I was like, what? Those are both for him. Like, I also need one. And the guy was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I would never let anyone order my food for me because they're going to get it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's also like, you have to remember on first dates specifically, this is the time to get to know the other person and figure out whether or not shit's gonna work and whether or not you want to take it any further than that.
You didn't pay $9 out.
Right.
Give him the boot.
And like Emily said, it's kind of personal preference. So if you are kind of like Charlotte and you want the other person to pay, like, that's totally fine. That's your priority. And it can also say something about the fact that Charlotte does have more traditional ideals when it comes to dating. Mm-hmm. So whoever she's dating or ends up being with in the long term should also have those traditional ideals.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's hard. First dates are difficult because, like I said, this is the time where you're kind of feeling it out and figuring out what the other person is like.
Because they're either super fun or not.
I look financially to the traditions, like when I'm on a first date. But also, if, say, when a guy pulls out your chair or he'll get your car door. Yeah. That also is what I look for. Like, that is more traditional brownie points. That is like, you are treating, like when we're at work.
You want a gentleman.
And the gentleman helps the woman into the chair and like pushes them in. I'm like, bro, you're doing great. Yeah. Like, you better get a kiss or two, if you know what I mean, later tonight in bed.
Ew.
Gross.
I think we've kind of shit on like guys not paying, and I don't want it to come off that way because it's really fine.
No, it's
if
mostly
you don't
just
want
me.
to. But also remember that if you really want to take someone out on a date, even if you're dating another guy, if you're two girls, whatever, if you're not financially able to take that person out to like a nice dinner and all that stuff, but you really want to ask them out on a date, remember that there's so many things that you can do that don't either are much cheaper options or don't cost any money at all that could possibly be more meaningful to that person. Just remember that if you're not financially able to do that, it's okay, but
we still
take
love you.
Control and say, I want to take you out. Here's the plan that I have so that I know that, you're a little bit more in control of that situation so that you don't get stuck in a sticky situation like that,
Or you do get stuck in a sticky situation,
Anyway.
All right, we're moving on. Okay. When did you first discuss money with your partner? Because you guys have talked about the fact that you really didn't. So I'm going to go first. I started talking about it with my main ex pretty early on, just because like I don't know how to accept gifts, so I would always be like, do you want to get the food? Should I get the food? I'll get it next time, whatever.
Right.
And then my more recent ex, he made it very clear right away that like he wanted to pay for a lot of things, so we like would talk about it sporadically. It wasn't anything crazy, and I don't remember who started those conversations. I think they just started based out of situational things. But I've never felt like awkward talking about money with a partner or someone I was just dating.
Right. I do not remember the exact timing of my conversation with money about my last relationship because we did eventually talk about money, and because very early on in the relationship and probably kind of close into the first year, he was very much like no, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'm clearly making more money. Kind of like you were saying with your last ex. Like he was just always on it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the rhythm that I got into. And granted, of course, every once in a while I'd be like, okay, yeah, like I can cover it, or do you want to, whatever. But I kind of got in the rhythm of he suggests going out, eating somewhere, doing something, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, with the expectation that he's going to pay. And his work was kind of weird. He was very contract based, so timing of like how much money he had or how much money he was making kind of wavered.
Yeah.
So it got tough the further into the relationship we went because he started every once in a while not being able to constantly pay for both of us all the time. So it became a conversation we had to have. And it's hard because once you get into that rhythm, it's hard to revert back to not. So I would say it's almost better to have those conversations earlier if you can, because like I said, it's hard to revert out of the rhythm that you kind of set in the beginning. So like try and have it earlier.
I agree with Elaina because if we're being honest, I never talked about money with my ex.
Right.
It's like I know Emily is fine talking about money and Elaina is too, but I don't talk about that things with whoever. Unless you're very close with me, you'll soon realize my financials.
Right.
But I never
like when you were working
money.
a million jobs at once. Even my mom knew about that. She was like, is Charlotte okay?
I'm just like a workaholic. Like I'm like financially stable and there's never been a problem. Right. I just like knowing that I have my own money coming in, whether I don't have to rely on my partner, my parents, whoever it is.
Right.
I like having my own money. So I've never talked about money with any of my exes, significant others, whatever. Never talk about money, religion, politics at all. It's just a conversation that, and I feel like this is where my ex and I were similar. We just did not want to have.
Right.
Because I understand people have their views on all of those topics and are very intertwined with them, and they have all the right to be. But for me specifically, I don't want to have those conversations. I feel like if I like you as a genuine person, those won't impact my view on you. So me specifically.
I can kind of agree, but my big thing is that, and in my current relationship, money conversations didn't really start happening until it became a more serious relationship. And I think that's kind of when it would be smart to do it. If you think that you're kind of entering a more serious relationship with someone, that might be a conversation you want to have. And even not just money, but lightly touching religion, politics, like you were saying. For me personally, if I'm going to enter a serious relationship with someone and I can even slightly fathom the idea of being with them for a very long period of time, I want to know that our views on money, religion, and politics line up.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's important to me personally. So, for me, those are conversations I want to have.
Yeah.
And because I'm like, if you don't, like I was saying, I talked to Emily, we weren't even thinking about dating yet.
You weren't even,
and I was just
friends.
I was like, what if I'm fucking a Trump supporter?
Oh my God.
Like, what do I do?
This is where
we'd take you to the gyno, we'd get you a whole new vagina.
Right.
Yeah, no, this is where I reiterate, like, I know that Emily and Elaina would
Charlotte, we would never let you marry a Trump supporter. Ever, ever, ever.
Sorry.
I would commit murder. Charlotte, let
Emily and I will have that conversation with your significant other.
Murder.
You have that.
Yeah, no, really, that's the honest truth.
No, but
I wouldn't have that conversation, so Emily and Elena have
it for you.
So why do you think talking about money is so uncomfortable, or can be so uncomfortable?
That's a loaded question.
I was gonna say.
Or are there things in your experience or with specific partners that have made talking about money uncomfortable?
I think it's mostly because, especially in our society, I think money is tied a lot to worth or general value. I think we deem people who make a lot more money more successful in a lot of ways. So I think it's kind of hard because you kind of have to tiptoe around it because you don't want to reveal something that might make the other person think less of you.
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know what I mean?
Damn.
So I think that's probably
that
why.
was heavy, but like real accurate.
Yeah.
No, yeah, she's not wrong, because what I was going to add to that is basically it's a hard conversation because everyone views the money they make differently.
Yeah.
So like we obviously all work hard for our money, and when you start to compare numbers, it's not the same as comparing work behind the numbers.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like that's where the defensiveness would come in.
Right.
So it's a touchy subject for everyone because we're all proud of what we do, and it could be related and looked at in different ways. So,
or maybe you're not proud of what you do and you're a little insecure.
Yeah.
Maybe that
definitely.
insecurity comes into the relationship or into that conversation.
into the relationship.
Well, no, into the relationship.
I mean, that too, but into that conversation where if you're insecure about your job or where you are in your field and how much money you make, then that's going to make that conversation a lot more weird for you because you're insecure about it, you know?
And if you place a lot of worth in that, in your job and how it plays a part in your life, then like the more worth you place in that, then the more insecure you'll be. I also think it has a lot to do with how much you talked about money growing up, and if you ever learned to talk about money with your family, with your parents, with your siblings, cousins, whatever. Like even with friends, if you don't know how to talk about money, how to start those conversations, and just feel comfortable in it, then obviously it's going to be a really awkward conversation because you don't know how to start it. You don't know how to word it. You don't know where the quote unquote lines are. Mm-hmm. You might cross a line, whatever. Then that can make it really uncomfortable. And I think if you're comfortable with the person you're with and if you feel safe with them, then you guys can talk about money, and you then can be able to make those mistakes in talking about money. That might make you uncomfortable, but they're not going to judge you for it. They're going to like allow you to kind of figure out how to talk to them about it, and maybe they know how to talk about it better than you do. So like they can help guide that conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Okay. Charlotte, on to you, baby boo.
Okay, so this is a wannabe would you rather date ideas.
Okay.
So one is more directed towards probably more money, and the other one isn't.
Okay.
I wonder who gave you this idea. Crazy. Okay.
Emily Grace Bishop. Social security number is.
Bleep!
Would you rather go to a movie or do a puzzle at home or like game night?
Movie only because my main ex and I were huge movie people. Like I loved movies.
I love a movie night.
No, I'd rather drinking game night.
Especially if there's a movie out that I really want to see.
Okay. Would you rather go to a sports event or stay home and do a DIY project? Oh my God, sports event.
But
Are you kidding me?
I love sports so much. I love
See,
going
I
to
don't
games.
love sports.
Oh my God.
Like, take me to a football game,
we went to
or a hockey
game
game or a basketball game. Take me to a baseball game. Like,
don't take me to any of those ever.
Would you rather go out for a candlelit dinner or have a candlelit dinner at home?
If my partner can cook, let's do it at home.
oh yeah,
If they can't,
So I'm going out to dinner.
Go elsewhere.
yeah.
If
If you can cook, get me a big ass bottle of wine,
Right.
and I'll be so happy.
Right.
Would you rather make fondue or talk about your dreams?
Ooh, fondue. I'm going to pick the
Oh
food
my
ones
God.
every single time.
Charlotte, food. Do you know us?
Food every time.
I
Take me to fucking melting pot.
Give me some
Fondue.
cheese.
I don't want to talk about your dreams.
No, we can talk about our dreams.
So good.
We can talk about our dreams in
this
bed.
is good for Elaina.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Would you rather get takeout or delivery or plan a vacation in that time?
Vacation.
See, you didn't pick the food, bitch!
You're right.
Okay, but I like travel.
We can eat lots of food
on the
that
vacation. All right, I love traveling and I love eating while traveling, but I would take traveling over just regular food.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have a picnic or make a travel list? So, like, places you want to go.
Picnic.
I'd want to do places I want to go, because if the time came, I'd want to know where they'd want to go.
See, I would want to go on a picnic, and let's talk about that on the picnic.
You can't combine the ideas, bitch! All right, this one's good for Emily. Would you rather make s'mores or take a personality test?
Ooh, that is a good one for Emily.
Oh. I'm gonna let y'all answer first. I want to see what you guys say.
Fucking s'mores.
You're pathetic.
Fucking love s'mores. I want to see how you do your marshmallows.
Okay.
That'll tell me everything I
Elaina,
need to know about your personality.
How do you do your marshmallows?
Oh, I get those nice and crispy.
Do you burn them or are they brown?
So I'm not against a burnt marshmallow.
We're really talking about how you...
Shut up. This is so important.
I'm not against a burnt marshmallow, but my ideal marshmallow is like the whole outside is brown.
Yes.
But like golden.
Yes.
Not black.
Yes.
So I want it basically
and the inside
my goal
is melted.
to just to set the marshmallow on fire for like approximately 2 seconds and then
1.5.
immediately blow it out. Right.
I hate all of these because I didn't know how fast you guys would select food over
Every
any
fucking
other
time.
activity because...
Truly.
All right, next one. I don't know which one I would take for that one. I don't know. Probably take a personality test.
Okay.
For this one, it's would you rather have a dessert bar or ask any questions that you have been wondering?
I mean,
See, I think mine would be questions for this one.
Mm-hmm. I would too.
but I
I
already
think it's
asked
more important.
questions.
No, it's like questions that you've been putting off that you don't think you could ask.
I guess questions, but I'd rather have dessert involved whilst I do it.
Almost all of these, I would rather have both at the same time.
Okay. Would you rather go wine tasting or play Would You Rather?
Wine tasting.
Wine tasting.
This bitch is Italian.
Would you rather?
She fucking loves wine.
That sounds so fancy and fun.
Wine tasting is just a fancy excuse to get drunk.
Okay, next question. Would you rather a themed dinner and movie or go out for a holiday festivity?
Wait, themed dinner and
holiday
movie?
festivity. I am a bitch for holiday festivity.
She's got so many socks.
All right, would you rather watch concert at home or do indoor camping?
What the a concert at home or indoor camping?
Concert at home.
That's fucking
Fine,
lame. That's
bitch.
listening to
would
a CD.
you rather go to a consort?
A consort. I would rather go to a consort than do indoor fucking camping.
One more time.
I'd go to a concert, obviously. A consort is a wife, husband, or companion. In particular, the spouse of a reigning monarch.
Please cut that out because we're cutting out consort.
Leave it in. Leave it in. Would you
I would rather go to a concert.
I'd rather go to a consort.
Would you rather watch home videos or a movie or have no electricity night?
Oh, home videos.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I would do no
night.
electricity.
No.
That would be...
That means
I'd
you
be
can't
like,
cook
all right,
anything.
We'll have sex,
You can't
and then
get
we'll like
anything out
play
of
a
the
card
refrigerator.
game, and then I'm bored.
Yeah.
And I'm over it.
No, that's when you whip out the sex toys in the dark.
Why not whip out the sex
Why,
toys
yeah.
any other time?
Normally. Yeah.
Because then you know what's coming. Would you rather have a video game night or host a bonfire?
Ooh, a bonfire.
Oh, yeah, bonfires are fun. We do a lot of those
I'm
up
hosting.
here.
I love
Schmorsh.
hosting.
And outdoor
Schmorsh?
games.
Better fucking host.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much for listening. You can find us on Instagram at Babes and Bad Decisions and on Twitter at BABD Podcast. Email us at babesandbaddecisions@gmail.com, and you can also find all of our episodes and videos on our YouTube channel. Just search Babes and Bad Decisions Podcast. If you like us and want to support us, please take the time to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/babesandbaddecisions. All right, and what's our outro phrase for today?
Extravagant gifts? In your relationship? You just might owe them oral sex. All right. Good night, New York.
Good night, everybody.
Peace out.
Hello, Wisconsin.